Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday, happy 4th of July weekend. It's Daryl here. It is extremely bright and early. It's 3:15 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. You know, if it's before 3:30, you guys know, if you watch my channel, that means I had a pretty good idea when I woke up this morning. I didn't take a lot of time going through the news stories to decide what I was going to talk about. I already had a pretty good idea. And that's the case this morning. There's about 3 things I want to talk about, and I'm kind of just, I haven't written anything down. I'm kind of just going at a stream of consciousness here, so bear with me. 2 of the stories, one of them, they actually have implication. I realize they have implications in my life with selling my artwork in this channel. And I have to ask you guys a serious question, because I realize that I don't know if I'm a hypocrite. I don't know where I stand on this. I'm not kidding around. All right, but before I even start these 2 stories, I don't pay for cable here. I use an antenna. I refuse to pay like over $100 a month for the same thing I can get for free. So I get like 40 channels for free just using an antenna here. Yesterday, we had thunderstorms here, and like 10 of the stations that I usually watch were out. So I have to have the TV on constantly. I have to have lots of input. Like I'll watch it, I'll read, I'll have the TV on, I'll have the radio on. You know, I need lots of input. I don't know what that means. Anyway, so I ended up just putting on an old show from the 80s, Designing Women. And I got to talk to you guys about this, because I noticed something weird. I think is weird in this episode. This is from the late 80s, before the internet. And I never saw this episode before. It was just... And one of these characters, there's 4 women, designing women, and Dixie Carter, I think her name is, and she got all upset because she was driving by this newsstand, and they were selling adult magazines, and she started crashing her car into the newsstand because she was against adult material. And I'm just going about my business here. And, you know, last night, and I hear in the background, at the end of the show, I hear Dixie Carter, because they ruled against her, because they said the Supreme Court doesn't know what offensive material is and what is adult material. And Dixie Carter says to the person that was selling the adult material, "I'm going to run you out of town. I'm going to run you out of the country, and I'm going to run you off run you off the globe." You know, and I started watching that, and I was like, you know, I'm not a big fan of adult material. I've told you guys before, I was kind of cross-addicted. It was a big trigger for me back when I was using adult. I say adult material. I'm not using the P word here on purpose. And I thought about how times have changed. You know, so in this episode back in the 80s, and, you know, the crowd, you know, the canned laughter, cheers, and everything in this episode, you know, that she's gonna run adult material out of the world. And I was like, wow, times have changed. I'm not a big fan of adult material, but they were talking, you know, it's like censorship, you know. And I draw nudes, I paint nudes, you know. So where is the line, you know? And so I was kind of this was all before the internet and all the proliferation of adult material. Like, again, I am not using the P word here. You know, so what is it? You know, I don't remember the late 80s. Maybe it was, you know, the Reagan years. Things were so uptight that they were actually, you know, now that we have the internet and this stuff on the internet, there's really no way to get rid of it. You know, but I can't remember them being so uptight that they were going to try to get rid of everything, all this material. Anyway, I want to talk about a story about next story. Pete Buttigieg. I don't miss. You guys know I have a problem pronouncing names. I don't know why this is, but I don't do that on purpose. Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg. I'm serious here. I have a hard time pronouncing that name. Okay, so he really was on point. He was interviewed. The link to this will be right down below. He was being interviewed. I think this might have been on CNN. I'm not really sure, but the link, this actual interview will be right down below so you could watch it. And the interviewer showed him a campaign video that Ron DeSantis just made. And in this video, he's bragging about how he's made the LGBTQ, especially trans people's lives, miserable. And in this campaign video, I actually just heard this morning. I played it over again so I could hear everything that was going on in the campaign video. And it said something about eliminating trans people from the earth or whatever. You know, and it reminded me of the Designing Women episode I saw last night. So in DeSantis' video, he's bragging, and he's kind of comparing himself to Trump. But it's a weird video, because I don't know why this is. You could watch it. You could watch it down below. There's interspersed in the video. It's kind of bizarre. They're talking about getting rid of trans people, and then you see DeSantis laughing like maniacally, ha 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 ha. And he made this video. He's bragging. You know, it's bizarre, man. It's scary. But interspersed in it is shirtless, oiled up, sexy, muscle-bound men. And then there's one guy like in a Roman outfit. You know, I don't know if that's like a clique in the LGBTQ community. I don't know. You know, I don't know what this is all about. So Pete Buttigieg is being interviewed, and he's just speechless. You know, he says he's got to be careful because he's the transportation secretary, so he's got to be careful commenting on campaign videos, which I get. But he says, you know, how could you? I'm paraphrasing here, but he says, you know, how could you wake up in the morning and think about how can I make somebody's life harder today, and especially a marginalized group like the LGBTQ community? You know, and so Pete Buttigieg is saying, you know, how do you wake up in the morning and brag and compare yourself about who's making a marginalized group's life worse? You know, what are you trying to accomplish as a politician? You know, and I'll put it down below. And I don't get the video. It's bizarre. It's scary because the maniacal laughing and eliminating trans people, and then the shirtless, muscle-bound men, which I don't know what that even, you know, it's just weird. And so Pete Buttigieg just nails it, man. You know, it was a perfect short summary of DeSantis' video. You know, I thought about this, you know, how they've taken this especially the trans thing, and turned it into a total piece of fiction. I thought about how some of these stories actually connect to me. There's one commenter I see that always comments, and he never gets it. You know, I go out of my way to pick stories that I can relate to. You know, so I'm not just sitting here talking out of my butt. You know, so I go and I purposely find stories that you know, something that I've done before in my life or I could relate to. I purposely find these videos. And there's a commenter down below who just never get, I think it's Gina James or so, I don't know, something like that. And so two of these things directly apply to my life. I've talked about how this supposedly straight cop, what he did to me, and it wasn't a trans person, it wasn't a drag person. And these are the statistics. You know, the statistics are that 60% of bad things that happen to underage people happen because the perpetrator is a family friend. 20% is a family member, and only 10% is a stranger. You know, so the statistics go against this. It's fiction, and it's just like a hate fest on this one group. I don't get it. And then there's the whole thing with COVID. You know, I experienced this firsthand, personally. Got all the shots here, all the shots. I got them all. I wore a mask. My girlfriend, my soulmate, was a conservative, a Trump supporter. Never got shots, never got vaccinations, never wore the mask. And she died in the hospital from COVID, pneumonia-related COVID, when she moved to Florida. Within a day or two of arriving to move to DeSantis' state, she got sick with COVID and died in the Jacksonville hospital. True story, you know? So you kind of understand how these stories do, you know, like why I'm a liberal. That's not why I'm a liberal, but it certainly makes me realize that I'm on the right side. Okay. Next story. Oh, one of the guys from Sopranos, there's a link down below from Fox News. And I think Fox News is actually trying to spin this in another direction. One of the guys from, I think, Michael Imperioli, I think that's his name. You know, he's ticked off about the whole Supreme Court ruling. So he's kind of being sarcastic, and he says, thank you, Supreme Court, because now I can tell people, I can block people from watching The Sopranos, The Godfather, you know, all the movies that he was in, all the shows that he was in. He's being sarcastic. And he says, thank you for allowing me to discriminate. And, you know, he's saying this sarcastically. And Fox News, the way the article will be down below. they're kind of spinning it like he's actually saying thank you to the Supreme Court. You know, like he's like, they're actually spinning it like maybe he's serious about this. Like maybe he's saying it's a good thing. You know, Supreme Court. Bizarre. Okay, now here's the serious thing. Okay, I am totally against, you know, Colorado. This is all based on the Colorado. The people, a gay couple wanted a cake made and the cake shop owner refused to make the cake. So this went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled against the gay couple. That's what this is all about. And so the Supreme Court just last week said no. They, you know, if it's against a business's moral or religious their morality, against their beliefs, then they can discriminate against other people, which is bizarre. That just opens the door for anybody to discriminate. So can hospitals turn away people, that the LGBTQ people? Can hospitals turn away Trump? What about when it starts working in the other direction? So I was going to talk about that this morning. I have my paintings in the background, and then I realized I've already done this. I've already done this. About in 2016. I was on Facebook, and one of the guys I went to school with, a hardcore Trump supporter, and me and him would always get into it online. Rob, I think his name was, Rob D. He might be watching this. And he knows I was an artist. This is the guy that asked me, he saw a picture of me online on my bike, and he said, where's your work boots? You know, like it's any of his business, like, you know, you should be working, you know, like it's any of his business how I earn my money. Then one day he said this. He said, he says, I'm serious. And he texted me this. He said, I want to commission you to do a painting. You know, and I could already tell by the way this, you know, his demeanor, you know, we did not see eye to eye. I could already see where this is going. He was actually going to pay me, and I'm assuming here, because I cut him off. I blocked him right there. I said, enough of this nonsense. I was assuming that he was going to pay me to paint like a portrait of Donald Trump, just to bust my butt. And I blocked him. You know, and to this day, I started thinking about that. You know, if somebody came to me today and asked me to do a painting, do a portrait of Donald Trump. I don't usually do portraits. I'm not a big portrait person. I'm more landscape and abstract. But you know, today I'd still want to refuse. I despise Donald Trump, and I feel, you know, I feel very strongly about that, you know. So am I discriminating here? And did I already discriminate? You know, and I still feel strongly like that. But when it comes to the LGBTQ community or other, you know, I know I'm being hypocritical here. So I decided, well, if this is the Supreme Court's ruling, I'm going to go along with it. So we'll make it a rule now. Since it's a Supreme Court ruling, I will not sell paintings to people, Trump supporters. Anybody that supports the whole January 6th thing, anybody that says Donald Trump won, won't sell them any artwork. Sorry, it goes against my moral beliefs, my very religion, my very moral texture, my very moral fiber. It goes against, and if the Supreme Court says I can't. But wait, let's take this further. What about people watching my videos? You'd be surprised on YouTube Studio. I get a lot of information about people that view my, you know, how old you are, where you're from, and I started thinking about this. What if I just decide to start blocking people that had different views in mind? I can do that. I can block people. I just hit a button and I can block you from my channel. I've done it before. I've done it one time before. When somebody started, there's sometimes people. I've seen this happen before where somebody just despises me and they comment on every video and I ignore them. You know, I'm not going to reward bad behavior. And they just get more and more extreme. And then this person got to the point where he started doxing me on all the comments on all my videos. He put down what he thought. This is the funny part. What he thought was my phone number in the comments on all my videos. So I notified YouTube and I never saw his name again. I've only blocked that one person, but what about people that view my videos? Can I, you know, if I don't agree with your moral, you know, what do I have to lose here? You know, originally I had this channel for communication, for one side, you know, debate. But what if I decide to start blocking people just because I don't agree with you and I don't want you watching my channel? I could do that, Supreme Court. Let me know what you think. You know, I don't know, because I don't want to sell paintings. I do not want somebody coming to me with like $500. That's probably my usual fee, $500 to $1,000, and asking me to paint Donald Trump or the Proud Boys emblem or something like that. I won't take their money. You know, so does that make me a hypocrite? Let me know what you think. I'm serious on this. I realized this morning. All right, have a good Monday. I'll be back later with another video.